Hey, hey, today I am sharing with you the one thing that I could not homeschool without. Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Barnhill, and I have helped thousands of homeschoolers create doable systems, beat burnout, and bring more joy to their homeschool day. Welcome, welcome to the YouTube channel. Today we're talking about my very favorite thing, the thing that I could not homeschool without, and it is dun, 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 living books. Living books are absolutely the one thing that I could not run my homeschool without. They are so important. And I have a whole stack here in front of me of books that we have read this year that I want to share with you. But before I do that, I want to talk just a few minutes about a couple of things when it comes to living books. And the first thing that comes up is, how do I know if it is really a living book? Well, you're going to find a lot of definitions online that generally revolve around the idea that a living book is a book by one author that has living language in it. So the opposite of a living book would be something like a textbook or an encyclopedia. A living book, on the other hand, is typically written by one author and is usually very compelling to read. And so the questions that you ask yourself is, did I learn something from this book that I didn't know before? And it doesn't have to be something all like highbrow and hoity-toity and pinkies up. I mean, there are living books out there about how to can the vegetables from your garden. There are wonderful living books out there about like Jackie Kennedy Onassis. So did you learn something new about her? So all of these kinds of things can be living books. It doesn't just have to be about school subjects, or it doesn't just have to be about things that you think the Victorians read, or something like that. And then, was I engaged with what I was reading? Did it make me want to continue to read and want to continue to learn? And if the answer to that is yes, then there is a 99.999% chance that you've got a living book. And if you don't, who cares? You learned something and you enjoyed reading it, and that is all that really matters. Now, the second subject that comes up that's kind of a sticking point for homeschoolers is, how do I make time to read all these books and do my school subjects? And what I have to say is, these books are your school subjects. These books, these living books, can so easily become your history and your science. And you can ditch the textbooks, you can ditch the worksheets, you can combine all of your kids together, and all of you just love learning. So let me show you a few of the books that we've read this year that the entire family has absolutely loved. Okay, so the first one I'm going to share with you is one of our history books. This is Steve Shinkens' Bomb, and this is all about not only the building of the first atomic bomb, but the spying that went on and the secrets that were stolen in the building of the first atomic bomb. This is not fiction at all. This is actually nonfiction, and it is just written in such an engaging style. My kids loved it, and when we finished reading it, two of the kids said, "Hey, Mom, be sure not to get rid of that book." This book is the Louis Pasteur book by John Hudson Tyner. My boys absolutely love the book, and I think what they really related to was Pasteur himself and the character of the man that he was. So even though I wasn't crazy about Tyner's writing, he did very wonderfully portray Pasteur as the person and talk about all his accomplishments, and it really, really resonated with my two teen boys. The next one that we read for history is A Long Way from Chicago, and this one was just hilarious. I wanted a book that was set in the Great Depression, which quite frankly wasn't depressing. And so this book fit the bill. It talked about so many of the things that were going on during the Great Depression. It even touched on temperance. It touched on the homelessness of the time. It touched on not having enough to eat and just all of those things, but it was all wrapped in humor. So my kids got little tastes of what the Depression was like while reading some rollicking good stories as well. So this one fit the bill. We loved this one. And then the final one for history is this one called The Wright Brothers. And one of the great things about this one is there are so many photographs inside this book. And once again, nonfiction, a fabulous, fabulous read about how the airplane was invented. So those are some great history books. Now, we also used living books for our science this year. And so one of the books that was such a huge hit with my teenagers, now keep in mind that I have older teens and they were doing botany and they really enjoyed this Wicked Plants book. Now, this is not something you're going to turn over to your 10-year-old. It does talk about like medicinal plants in here, but my teens really, really enjoyed the engaging writing of this book and learned a lot about all the different plants that were in here. Another series that was so popular with my teens, believe it or not, this year was this series of biography books. So it's the biography of tea, the biography of coffee, the biography of vanilla. I've got a couple more, potatoes and sugar. Actually, my daughter particularly enjoyed the one about potatoes. And these books, even though they kind of look like picture books and children's books on the outside, they are actually chock full of information on the inside. So much information, lots and lots of words in here. You could definitely read it to younger kids. And then finally, the last one, this is also a science book that my daughter is reading this year called The Entangled Life. And this is all about fungi. And you can see this is a meaty book that an adult might pick up and choose to read. And she loves mushrooms. She loves fungi, which is kind of what took us off into the direction of botany this year, and this was one that she really liked. So you can see there's quite a difference in this book, the Biography of Potatoes book and the Entangled Life book, but these were all books that we used in our homeschool this year, all of these living books. If you are interested, like, oh, I really kind of like this idea of living books, how do I make it work in my homeschool? We actually have a couple of different resources for you. The first resource is called Teaching with Book Lists. This is a master class that I have over on my website where I show you how to take a topic or an idea, like say mushrooms, make a book list from it, and then what are some of the different ways you can evaluate the learning of your child after they've read from this book list. And so I'll link that down below for you. And then also another resource that we have for you is our autopilot planning course. And in the autopilot planning course, we show you how to use living books to teach in your homeschool. So you can ditch the curriculum that's kind of boring you to sleep and have a homeschool that really meets the needs of your family. And I'll link that down below as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. This video is actually part of a collaboration series with Rooted in Rest and the Waldock Way. And I'm going to link the playlist so you can go check it out and see some other things that were must-haves for homeschooling moms this year.